The movie opens with a group of people packaging hard drugs in a house. An ex-military man named Terry Savage sneaks in with a gun to steal their money. After successfully packing the money, he tries to walk out of the house, but unfortunately gets arrested by the police who were waiting outside. The police profiles him and find that he was actually a Special Opus soldier who, after his previous missions in Afghanistan, Nigeria, and Iraq, was awarded with medals. When Police Commissioner Harvey Clark asks Terry why he chose to steal, he says he couldn't afford medicine for his sick daughter. The police commissioner decides to help him by sending him to a prison to investigate a warden who is corrupt and dirty just so he can find evidence of corruption or human rights violation in order to put him down. Initially, Terry refuses, but after the commissioner explains the jail term he faces, and for the sake of his daughter, he agrees to do it with no choice. After he says goodbye to his sick daughter, Harvey tells him to take care of himself and gives him instructions for communication in the cell. Convicted Terry arrives at the prison along with his inmates, and Lieutenant Killian explains prison rules to them. They plant him with a chip and take him his cell. Terry finds a cell phone with an instruction to only use the phone for sending evidence. The next morning, Officer Killian wakes the inmates up for breakfast. At the dining hall, an inmate spills Terry's food and asks him to bow down, but Terry ignores him and walks away. Later in the day, Terry strolls around while the inmates are playing when an inmate approaches and tells him he hopes he can fight. Another inmate named Freeway and his friends approach him and ask him to join their gang, but Terry turns him down and walks away. As Terry is cleaning, he peeps through the door as some Mexican inmates complain to Freeway about how he handles matters with the warden. They attack him with knives, but Freeway defeats them. When Terry returns to his cell, the Mexican gang members attack him, but another inmate, Bones, defends him, and the guards quickly barge into the cell and send them all to solitary confinement. Lonely Terry then reminisces about his sick daughter. The warden then punishes the inmates for attacking Terry and apologizes to him, and he jokes about his family at the same time. He keeps Terry for a while and tells him about the private-owned prison and its boring state, and so to make it more entertaining, he created a fighting competition that he called the Dungeon as a way of rewarding good fighting prisoners. He goes on to tell Terry that he could redeem himself through it and hands him fighting clothes. He then sets Terry up with a new roommate and asks a guard to escort him to his new cell. Gina walks him as they discuss his military career to his cell, where he finds Bones, the same guy that helped him earlier. Bones asks Terry to forget about the outside world, but first focus on his survival in the dungeon, and gives him hope by offering to help him. Terry uses the phone to send his first report about the warden's dungeon to Commissioner Harry, and the commander asks for visual confirmation. Terry begins training with Bones, who later shows him the different prison gangs, including the Black Mafia gang led by Freeway, who is a good fighter that Bones also trained. The following day, Bones and Terry are taken to the dungeon by the guards, where the warden is seated in front row. An inmate welcomes everyone to the dungeon, where there are no rules, and other inmates also watch from televisions outside. As the fights begin, Terry records with his phone, and the warden watches while seated, and the fans chant down Freeway, who fights two opponents and wins. Moments later, they call on Terry to fight against El Vampiro from the Mexican gang with his symbolic sharpened teeth like a vampire. Before the fight begins, Bones tells Terry of El's fighting style of attack, and during the fight, he defeats the Mexican with a few punches. The warden later offers Freeway to choose any reward he wants after his excellent performance, but Freeway rather asks him why Bones is helping Terry, the new guy. The warden tells him it was only at Bones' request, and Freeway reminds him to honor his promise of getting him out for keeping the inmates in check. Freeway threatens the warden that if he can't assure him of his freedom, then he can't guarantee to keep the inmates in check. The warden then explains his plan of getting Freeway a rematch with the top dog at a different Aurora State prison, and by that he promises to set him free if he wins that match. Jeanette, a lawyer at the National Veterans Affairs that has been assigned Terry's case, visits to help him get freedom since he isn't a criminal, but Terry refuses. She explains to Terry about the intel on a corrupt system created by private prisons to traffic a specific human race. Before leaving, she asks Terry to call her for any assistance. In the next scene, Bones prepares Terry for his next fight with Z, who is known to be the best fighter. He asks Terry to put in more strength against Z's fighting ability. Back to the dungeon, the two start fighting, and Terry surprisingly knocks out Z with a powerful single punch. He then refuses to beat him even more and leaves the dungeon. Later in the evening, Bones explains to Terry how he got charged for murder, and Terry begins to wonder about his own life. The next day, Terry is seen as a threat by the other inmates, and two of them later attack him with knives. Officer Gina steps in right on time to stop the fight, where an attacker mistakenly stabs her and runs away, leaving her in Terry's hands. Luckily, Gina survives, and the warden thanks Terry for acting fast to save her and eventually protecting his reputation. Terry requests the warden to set up a fight between him and Freeway. After this, Freeway scorns the attackers for acting without his orders. Later, the warden calls them all into his office, where he asks Killian to kill two of the inmates for breaking his rules right before the very eyes of Freeway. Freeway tells the warden that he never gave the order, and the warden forcefully asks him to fight Terry without refusing. Freeway later confronts Terry about the fight, and Terry calls him a bully. But Freeway suggests that they give the real bullies what they want and leaves whilst Terry trains with Bones. Terry later texts Commissioner Harry of his intention to fight the top dog for a last time, and he will be done. As he continues training hard, he gets flashbacks of his daughter. In the dungeon, the warden announces the fight between Terry and Freeway. Fans cheer them up and the two exchange blows, and Terry wins the fight. Later, Terry sends the commissioner evidence of the fight and asks him to get him out, but sadly gets no reply. The following day, the inmates acknowledge Terry as the new man, and the warden shows Terry his new power with other teammates. The warden offers Terry to support him to run the place, but he refuses, and he then shows Terry his hard drugs operations. Terry calls it slavery, but the warden calls it free labor and promises to offer him more enjoyment. Terry insists he will think about it and grabs a handful of the drugs as he walks out. He also shows Terry the bodies of those who attacked him, but Terry only wants to be with his daughter. As they leave, Freeway wakes up from his sick bed. Later that evening, the warden takes him to meet Commissioner Harvey, whom he has been texting. Terry is shocked to find out that they work together. The warden explains to Terry that he and the commissioner are good friends who share a 50-50 profit, and they are willing to offer him some of the profits, but he declines. They also reveal the gambling ring they run in all 7 other prisons by putting top dogs against each other, and they tell him he now works for them, but Terry refuses. As Plan B, they bring in Bones, and after tasing him, Terry agrees, so they set him up for a match with the top fighter at a different prison, after which Harvey leaves. Later, Terry and Bones plan to bring down the warden. After they inform other inmates about the plan, Terry also calls in the lawyer, Jeanette, and hands her a chip with evidence. Later, the visiting warden and his huge fighter, Chaka, from Aurora Prison arrives. The warden is shocked to see him but still agrees to the $100,000 bet. The fight begins in the dungeon, and Terry throws the powder he took to blind Chaka and attacks him. However, remembering his daughter, he signals to the other inmates to carry on with the plan, and they attack the guards while the wardens panic and the visiting warden escapes. The warden tries to escape, but police officers suddenly arrive and an officer shoots down his guard, killing him. The warden meets Terry in the hallway as he tries to escape. They engage in a fight when Bones arrives to help Terry. The warden picks up his gun to shoot them, but police officers arrive and shoot and arrest the warden even though he tries resisting them. Jeanette later explains to Terry how she used the video from his chip to report the corrupt institution to the authorities. Terry gets a full pardon from the state, including payment of his daughter's medical bills. Before leaving with Jeanette, Terry thanks Bones, who asks him not to forget him when he leaves, and the prisoners cheer on Terry as he says his final goodbyes to them. He picks up his daughter from the hospital with gifts, and they happily embrace before heading home. A few weeks later, Terry sends Jeanette to get Freeway and Bones from prison. At the closing scene, the warden can't believe his situation and curses after being thrown into his new prison cell.
Watch next how a housewife runs a coupon scam that made her millions of dollars in profits. Please subscribe and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.